Perfect. Well, welcome everybody to ICF Orange County, our chapter meeting for the month. And I'm Greta Boy. I'm the president this year, and I'd like to introduce our board members before we start. Before we introduce our guest speaker, Nahid Kazaza of Programs, say hello. Camber Outreach. There's Lori from Marketing. Karen Holmes from Membership. Raphael Durand, Finance. Nanur Ohanessian, she's our past president and also co-director of events, bringing this to you live from OC. And Sharon Carroll, she's on the marketing committee. Hi, Sharon. Yeah. Okay. So thanks everybody for being here. We've got about 30 people. Let's hope they all get here. As you know, this is being recorded and we will be sharing it on YouTube afterwards. Tonight we're together from 6 to 7:30 p.m. For your questions. If you have some for our speaker, feel free to type them in chat. And also during the last 15 minutes or so, we'll have more Q&A. Raise your hand also. We will be sending you your CCEUs after the event, after you fill out the survey. So in order to get the CCEUs, you have to fill out the survey. Please tell us what you think, how we're doing, and what you'd like to see in the future. We love feedback. And it takes about 7 to 10 days to process those CCEUs. We have to do them all manually. So we ask for your patience with that. So Nahid, over to you.
So one of the things that we really miss from our in-person meetings is the fact that when you come to us in person, you get to network. So what we're trying to create here in our virtual world is the best of both worlds. So on one hand, because we're virtual, we get to embrace people from Rhode Island and New York and, you know, various different places in the world. So you get an opportunity to get to know people from other places. But in order to facilitate that, what we're going to do is a little networking activity, and we're going to put you in breakout rooms, and we just have one question for you to discuss with each other. So what I'd like you to think about to kind of prime you for our topic today is, in your coaching career, what is the one thing that tends to hold you back? And keep in mind, when we're in our breakout rooms, this isn't a time to coach each other or give each other advice, just some thoughtful reflection. You know, kind of give everyone in your group a chance to share, you know, what it is that has held them back, and choose a speaker, choose someone to do the debrief. And we're going to give you about 10 minutes to hang out with a few other coaches. We're going to let the Zoom choose. It's going to be completely random. So we're going to let you hang out with a few other coaches, get to know them a little bit better, talk to them a little bit better, and then choose one person to share from your group kind of what are the key points that you talked about when we come back. All right. Does anyone have any questions before we go into our breakout rooms? All righty. Let me see if I can get these set up. So we have, oh, wow, someone's already done that. Perfect. So go into your breakout rooms. You should be getting a message now, and enjoy your conversations, please.
I just did it, Nahid, because since you were talking, to make it easier.
Perfect. Yeah. And I just assigned the new person coming into group 4. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Gloria, are you having trouble getting into your breakout room?
It looks like she froze.
Oh, there she is. Okay, good. All righty. So let's give them, well, it's already 6:08. How tight are you? Do you want me to pull them back earlier than 10 minutes?
No, that's fine. I have plenty of time, so I think it's okay.
Okay.
Also, just for reference, you can also pause the recording here so that the 10 minutes isn't just blank time.
That's a great idea. I was always wondering about that. Welcome back, everyone. So good to see you all. Welcome back. So we're going to do a quick debrief of what we talked about, and then we're going to bring our speaker on. So who is going to give us the debrief from group one? Just go ahead and turn off your mute and start talking.
I don't even know what group we were in. Were we in
Yeah,
one?
we were group one.
Okay, Bethany, why don't you hit it?
No, really, I have no idea. I would have
Oh.
taken notes. We were just having way too much fun. So
Okay.
Just, you know, do it from memory. That's probably the best way to share, right? I mean, I'm so glad to hear that you guys were having fun. I mean, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the fun you had.
okay, who can speak for us? Because
Okay, I'll do it.
thank
so,
you.
I believe I can hit it. So we had the imposter syndrome come up that happens in the coaching situation. We also had the idea that not enough material, printable material, audio material, video material was being manufactured in order to expand the coaching situation. And I'm at a loss of because there was kind of a blend with the four of us in like-minded issue manners. Is there something that I've forgotten?
Asking for money,
Oh,
put
money.
yourself out there asking for money and then niching down because we feel like there's so many people that we can help. And then how do we like focus?
Yeah, those are all relevant. I bet everybody here can relate to those. So let's hear what group two has to say. Who is going to debrief for group two?
I think that's me.
All right,
I'm
Wendy.
the wrong number. So, and we had such a great conversation as well. And I think that what the consensus was is that we all kind of follow a very similar path. That idea of, gosh, if I put myself out there, will they figure me out and will I be found out? And I don't want to face the rejection. I have to have it just right before I do it. So that's what a lot of our conversation, it kind of all seemed to merge into, wow, we're so glad we're here for this seminar and learning about how we won't feel like imposters.
I am so glad to hear how much bonding and emotional support you guys were able to give each other just in that 10 minutes. What about group three? All right, is that Karen?
Yep, sorry about that. We had a variety of responses. One was, who am I as a coach to help someone else with their issues when I've got my own?
Right.
Like I don't have myself all, perfectly sorted out. So how could I possibly help someone else? And then this idea, especially with more of a corporate type of coaching, the expectation from the client that the coach is supposed to have the answers. And, why don't you have the answers for me, not solving their problems, even though we know coaching's not about solving their problems.
Mm-hmm.
The idea around, am I giving enough value as a coach? And making that decision to really step out and market actively. And the last piece was having a hard time articulating quickly for other people what we do.
Yeah. I resonate with all of that. Do the rest of you? I totally get that.
That's for our responses.
Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent. So that was group three, right? So then who would like to talk for group four?
I could talk for group four.
Okay, is that Nicole?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
I would be on camera, but it's been a long day on the East Coast. And so I hope you don't mind.
We will forgive you.
Thank you. So, we talked about, asking for referrals can be challenging, as well as like refining offerings and like service packages. And then the other bucket was around, kind of wanting to be a perfectionist and not relaxed and sort of, trying to, be okay with not having all the answers, and the client will still be, have confidence in you as you lead them through their journey.
Excellent. I can resonate with all of those too. And I believe we have a group five.
That would be me. First of all,
Okay.
we're totally convinced that was not 10 minutes. It was 5. We had 2 marketing and 1 all the self-talk noise during the while you're coaching. So Carrie shared that she's a new coach. She does mostly social media marketing, which seems to not be paying off. And I went into my experience of how I create 99% of my clients by doing workshops. And with Zoom and the pandemic, I've pretty much doubled the number of workshops I do, because I really truly believe in coaching, you can't talk it through, you can't do it on social media, I don't think. The potential client has to actually experience you and experience coaching. Naor in marketing, she had like 12 seconds to go, and it was her hesitation to ask people, to do a workshop or to do marketing. So it's the ask for her that was a challenge. And then for Raphael, as he's coaching clients, all the thoughts that come up in his mind. And I said, how do you get through that? And he said, simply have an awareness around it and then bring myself back to the client.
Yeah, love that, love that. So I don't think we had a group 6, right? I think all the groups have been interrupted. So what I love about everything that you guys have shared is you are not alone. There is not one thing that has been mentioned that I haven't experienced as I've gone through my coaching journey. And I'm sure if we opened it up for everyone, you would hear the same things like, I resonate, I resonate, I resonate. So we are in the right place. I'm so excited to have Lena with us tonight, because she talks about imposter syndrome. And so she's going to be addressing all of these issues. What I'd like to do is hand it over to Camber, because Camber discovered Nade for us as a speaker. And I'm going to have Camber introduce Nade. Over to you, Camber.
Okay, thank you, Nade. So if I hope most of you are acquainted with 6 degrees of separation. And with that said, when COVID first hit, so much chaos was happening, but there's always a miracle in the middle of a bunch of silly stuff, crazy energy. And a bunch of my neighbors decided to get together for like a cocktail hour every week out in the front yard, 6 chairs apart from each other. It was very bonding. And my neighbors are teachers and a couple. And they had, the wife had been a teacher to Anetta. And she had just come out with her book, and she was excited to tell me about it. She knew that I was involved in ICF, and that is how we met. We found out about her, called her. She was willing to share this evening with us. And here we are, 6 degrees of separation. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. So Lena is the founder and CEO of Rise Up For You, the leadership and career confidence coach. She's a TEDx motivational speaker. Nade has been featured on hundreds of podcasts and radio shows, and has also been on a motivational and educational speaker on platforms such as TEDx Talks, the Female Quotient, the California Human Resource Conference, Wonder Woman Tech, the Human Gathering, and more. Her company, Rise Up For You, has been featured and has worked with brands such as CBS, LA Fitness, Google Next 19, and more. Nade is a proud best-selling author on Amazon, has been awarded the Chiefs Award from the Orange County Sheriff's Department, is a 3-time finalist for the Emerging Woman-Owned Business Award, and most recently awarded the 40 Under 40 Award from Orange County Professionals in 2020 and the Woman of Influence in 2021 for entrepreneurship. Woo, she's loaded with good stuff. So now let's bring on Nade.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's so great to be here. I've been watching you for the last 20 minutes. I hope that's not weird, but that's why I don't have my camera on, because I wanted to see all the incredible people that were here today. Thank you so much, Camber, for that introduction. That is awesome, and I'm happy to be here. So we got a lot of cool things to talk about. So everything that I just heard from your breakout, you're in the right spot because we're going to address and cover all of it. So again, glad that you're here today and thank you for showing up for yourself. So again, my name is Nade. I'm the founder of Rise Up For You, as you heard, but I wasn't always the founder of Rise Up For You. So I actually started as a performer. So I used to tour the world internationally as a singer and dancer. So how many of you are familiar with musical theater, Broadway, that kind of thing? You've heard of it, right? So that's what I did for about the first 8 years of my life. And I used to tour internationally. And when I walked into the room as a singer, I always stood center stage. Now, if you know anything about performing, you know that center stage is the place you want to be. It's the spotlight. It's what we call the center or the diva area. But this is the part I really want you to hear. I was never, ever the best singer. So there was always 3 or 4 people that were in that room that had way better technique than me, and they could sing me out of the water. But they stood in the back with the choir, and I stood in the center. Why? Because the way that I showed up, the way that I walked into the room, the way that I presented myself, and the way that I put my best foot forward, even if I didn't know the song and wasn't sure if I could hit the notes. And they used to come up to me and they used to say, Nade, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could stand in your spot. And I would say, first off, you're a way better singer than me. Actually, my best friend was Bob Dylan's daughter, and she was one of those people. Okay, she was one of those people that stood in the back of the choir, even though she had about 40 years of history and experience in her family. And I used to say, everything you need is already inside of you. The only difference between you and I is I actually believe it and I show up that way. So after I got done performing, I decided to come back to California, hang up my shoes and my microphone. And I went to school and I got my graduate degree in leadership. And I became an executive for an education corporation. And I was 27 years old when I became an executive. And I saw the exact same challenges happening. Now, I thought that this only happened in the performance world because there's a lot of comparison. There's a lot of competition, right? We each want to get the role. But no, I was now in a corporation for education and the same challenges were happening. Men and women that had PhDs, master's degrees, that were 20, 30 years older than me were sabotaging their success. They were getting in their own way. They were afraid to make the ask. They were afraid to speak up, and they weren't showing up to their full potential. In fact, there was even an opportunity where I wanted to move on from the company, and I gave somebody basically my job on a platter and said, I think you would be a great executive. I'm moving on. I'd like for you to take the role. And they told me no, even though it was a $40,000 pay raise and a title change, because they didn't think they were ready. And they didn't think that they had what it took to step into the role, even though the boss is saying, I want you to take the role. Anybody resonate with that at some point in their life, right? Okay. So this was all very, very interesting for me because this wasn't something that I was used to, right? You know, imposter syndrome, having some of these thoughts and some of these doubts that get in the way, because I came from a family where my mom and my dad, the main thing that they taught my brothers and I was to believe in yourself, period, no matter what, because they knew that as you get older, that other people aren't going to believe in you the way that you believe in you. So if you don't have that foundation, that means you're going to believe other people's thoughts. So they taught us that at a young age. So I remember my mom used to drive us to school and she would be our cheerleader. She would sit in front and say, today you're going to be amazing. And my brothers and I would sit in back and say, today we're going to be amazing. And we used to repeat what she said so that we can get that into our brain. Until one day when I was 27 years old, again, at a house on the lake, brand new luxury car, making the amazing 6 figures, I resigned from the company and I decided, I was there for 4 years. So I resigned from the company, sold my house, sold my car, sold everything. And I went to Canada with 2 luggage because somebody asked me to marry them. And after 2 weeks, they decided that they wanted a divorce. So in 2 weeks, I went from a high functioning job, 6 figures, a house on the lake, boats, kayaks, everything you can imagine, to $100 in my account and 2 luggage in just 2 weeks. Now, you can imagine I got back on that plane and I was crying and I was embarrassed and I felt ashamed. How can a professional educated individual, end up in this position. Has anyone ever had that thought before? Like, how did I get here? Right? I know better. How did I get here? But I did. And I was crying on that plane. And I remember like yesterday, I fell asleep because I was crying so much. And my father came to me in my dream on the plane. My father had passed away 2 years before that. Okay, so he had multiple heart attacks. And he came to me in my dream and he said, Neda, everything you need is already inside of you. You just have to believe it. You have to rise up for you and believe it. And guess what? I woke up and I said, that's it, rise up for you. 2 weeks later, I came back to California and what did I start building? Rise Up For You, which I'm here with you guys today. Now, the reason why I tell you that story is because when I came back, I never built a business before. Okay, I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. I was a performer, I was a corporate executive, and that was it. But the reason why I was able to come back and build this company, which has now been going for the last 4.5 years, and by the way, has quadrupled in the last 8 months because of COVID, is because of confidence. It's the ability to recognize that I might not have a house, I might not have a car, I might not have, a business degree, I might not have A, B, C, and D, but I have my mind and I have my health and I can do a lot with those things. So I want to stop here just for a second and ask you, how many of you guys have a mind that works and that is capable? Most of you here. And how many of you, for the most part, are in good health where you're functional, where you're coaching and you're getting on Zoom? So we have that much, right? So now how much can you do with that you're not currently doing? You can do quite a bit. 3 months after I started building my company, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Never had it before. So most people don't know that the first year of building the company was built in a hospital, and 6 months later she passed away, and the company still built and grew. Now, again, I'm sharing that story with you because the only thing that got me to move forward was the most important thing for you in your business today, and that's your confidence and your belief in yourself. You can have as many degrees, as many certifications, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have the confidence to execute, it will sit on the shelf. And I always tell this to my clients. Most of my clients today are coaches like you, okay? So I have a great team. Half of our clients are corporations and half of them are individuals like yourself. And when they come to me for business coaching, you know what I say? You don't need business coaching because you're already a great coach. You already have everything you need to go out there and make an impact on people. What we need is to help you recognize that so that you can go do that. So when I hear some of these things about marketing and do I need more content? No, what it is the inside that we can explore and work through. So today we're going to do a lot of digging, okay? So if you can put your video on, because I'm going to show up at 1,000% and I want you to show up at 1,000%, and we're going to do breakouts and we're going to go around and we're going to ask questions and we're going to engage. So I'm going to share my screen for you and we're going to go into a few things about confidence, and then we're going to come back and we're going to share, and we're really going to dive into some of these challenges that we may have as a business owner. Okay, can you see my screen? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, beautiful. So building confidence in your career and life. Again, my name is Nada with Rise Up For You. So first off, let's debunk some myths, okay? Because confidence is very, very misunderstood today. And that's why most of us don't identify with it. So if I were to ask you if you're confident, you'll probably say, yeah, I'm confident. But then you might say, but I have self-doubt, I have imposter syndrome, I struggle with making the ask. All those things come back to confidence. So confidence is not built overnight or even in a year. Confidence is not stuck up. It's not mean. It's not unkind. Okay, so when you hear people say that they're overconfident, that actually doesn't exist. Okay, that means that they're overcompensating. Okay, not overconfident, they're overcompensating for something that they think they have a lack of. Okay, it's not competitive with others. So if you've worked with other coaches that don't want to share with you, or they're functioning in a scarcity mindset, it's because they lack confidence and they're afraid. There's a fear there. Most of you know this because you're a coach and you teach this every day. Confidence is not determined by your external wins and factors. It's not a fixed state and it's not given to a select few people. and it's not limited in its potential. Okay, so let's break those myths right off the bat. So what is confidence? Well, we have two kinds. We have external confidence. That's what we typically think is confident. When somebody walks into a room, we say, oh, they're so confident. Look how they're showing up. But then you talk to them and you can quickly recognize they might not be as confident as they show up to be, or as we see them, right? We've all seen that before. And then the most important is the internal confidence. Okay, so do they have true confidence? So what is confidence? Let me tell you, this is straight out of the dictionary. So I'm not making this up. Okay, you can go Google this right now. It's a feeling or consciousness of one's powers or of one's reliance on one's own circumstance. A faith or belief that one will act in a right, proper, or effective way. The quality or state of being certain. A relation of trust or intimacy. This isn't a shallow definition. There's nothing mean about this. There's nothing arrogant about what it means to be confident. Inner confidence or self-confidence can be identified as the following: the internal thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves, the conversation and self-talk that you have with yourself, the perception that you have of you, how you show up and treat people. When people tell me that they're confident and then I see how they treat people, I can tell you in 1 second if they really have confidence. Because when people are mean or unkind or snobbish to people, that tells me right there that there's something that's not internally working for them. And your response, your reactions, and your communication with yourself and others can also say whether or not you have confidence. So, overcoming confidence challenges. Here's where you come in. So I want you to take that piece of paper that you have with you, okay? And I'm gonna go through a couple assessments and surveys, and I want you to do this with me. So I assessed over 200 college freshmen, okay, over the last 2 years before we got into COVID. So if you have parents, listen to this, because this is important. 80% of those college freshmen said they felt less worthy than others. 85% said they didn't believe in their own abilities. If anybody here is in youth coaching, you're in the right spot. And if you're not in youth coaching, that might be a good spot, because our youth are suffering today when it comes to coaching and building that confidence. In the last 6 months, our company has assessed over 1,000 working professionals, not people that are furloughed, people that are actively working. 82% of professionals said that their top challenge was confidence or confidence related, meaning imposter syndrome, self-doubt, taking risks, speaking up, and 57% actually used the word confidence. And by the way, this was all levels of professions, and it was all genders. So everybody from a high functioning executive from Google down to an entry-level position assessed in this category. Okay, there's 4 challenges that we found from our research. Which one resonates with you? The first one was self-promotion and advocacy. So this might be a challenge for some of you that are on a strategy call or a discovery call, right? Making the ask or pitching them to get into your coaching or to pay for what you have to offer. Promoting yourself when you stand up and you network, saying what you do flawlessly so that people resonate and connect with you as a coach so that you can move them and hopefully work with them as a client. The second one is imposter syndrome, which we heard earlier. So feeling like you might be a fake. Should I be here? What gives me the right to be a coach? If I have my own problems, does it really mean that I can coach other people? Taking risk is number 3. And then getting to the next level in your career or business. So being able to accept rejection, putting yourself out there, even if it falls flat, that's okay. So let me just ask you a quick question, and you can put this in the chat or you can raise your hand. How many of you guys are actively doing video right now on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or another platform? Raise your hand if you're on video right now. So I see 1, maybe 2 people. Okay. So if you're not doing video right now, I think we all know that for COVID-19, video is the #1 place and thing that you should be doing right now to gain clientele. So if you're not doing video, the question is why? Because that's going to help you get to the next level in your career. Okay. So here's where you come in. Grab that piece of paper, because I'm going to go through some top challenges for women and men. And I want you to assess yourself 1 through 5 to see where you fall. 5 meaning that it's amazing. So you don't have a problem with this at all. 1 meaning that it's a big challenge for you. And men, the next slide belongs to you, but I highly encourage you to screenshot this one because you're probably working with women every day. The first one for women, we see the top 9, making the ask. So 1 through 5, is that easy for you, or do you have a challenge with making the ask when it comes to your business? The second one is standing in your success. So when you have accomplishments, when you have achievements, do you have a hard time celebrating your wins and saying, yeah, I did that? 1 through 10. Sorry, 1 through 5. The third is imposter syndrome, 1 through 5. Do you struggle with imposter syndrome? 5 being, nope, I'm good. 1, yeah, I struggle a lot, everything in between. Number 4 is the perfectionist mindset, 1 through 5. Number 5 is trusting your intuition, okay? That feeling that we get in our stomach, 1 through 5. Number 6 is monkey chatter, okay? That's the voice that's in your head that it tells you you're not good enough, and it gets in your head. You're working with a client, and then it's creating all this noise, 1 through 5. Support from other women, if that's a challenge, 1 through 5. Speaking up, 1 through 5, and balancing masculine versus feminine energy, 1 through 5. Okay, so I want you to assess yourself 1 through 5, and then we'll come back to that. Okay, take a screenshot if you need to, because I'm going to go on for the men. Now, men, these are the top challenges that we see for men. Number 1 is being rejected. 1 through 5, where are you at with this? Number 2 that we often see for both business owners and in the corporate space is the man up complex. So having to deal with this like toxic masculinity, which we'll see a little bit later about you have to man up and you have to be a certain way as a coach or as a business owner. Number 3 is expressing your emotions. 1 through 5, where are you? 5 being no problem, easy, 1 being a challenge. Number 4, body physique. So interestingly enough, just as it affects women, we found that body physique also affects men in their confidence and their ability to perform in their career. Number 5 is performance anxiety. 1 through 5, where are you at? Number 6, toxic masculinity. So that means people, men that are around you that impose like this programming and these beliefs that we've had for years and years and years around what masculine energy should be. Prioritizing personal development, 1 through 5. And then salary and finances, 1 through 5. Okay, so just based off of those 1 through 5, let's stop here. Okay, I want to put you in a little breakout room. We're only going to do 5 quick minutes, and I want you to discuss some of these challenges for you and just express what's the top one for you, like the one that was the biggest challenge, and what are the ones that no problem for you. Okay, and we'll do this together, but I'm only going to give you 5 minutes. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to recreate the room so that you have new people in there. Okay, and let's start here. Here we go. It's my favorite part of the breakout when all the faces pop up at the end. It's like,
was like out of time and we got sent back. Where is everybody?
All right, how did that go? Good conversation? Okay. How many of you connected with a few of those points? All of us, right? Okay. So now I want you to ask yourself, how many of those points are getting in the way of you moving forward as a coach? I bet if I sat with each one of you personally and I just talked about your experience, you're probably a lot more qualified and experienced than some of the millennials that are 20 years old that are out there crushing it. Okay, and I say that honestly because I'm working with all of them. There's some coaches out there that are really, really making it and pulling it forward, and they're getting tons of clients, and they have a fraction of their certifications and the qualifications and the experience that you have. But the difference is that they're hungry and they want the lifestyle and they go for it, which doesn't mean that you're not. But I really want you to think about that because those are some things that are potentially getting in the way. So I want to keep going, and then we'll have more opportunity to interact. And of course, we'll have opportunity for Q&A. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen with you. This is the part that's probably going to be the most important that I want you to really sink in and also potentially see how it can be used with some of your clients. So fake versus real confidence, which one do you have? So the reality is this, most individuals, and I write about this in my book, I talk about it all the time. I'm doing a second TED Talk in June on this. Most individuals, they build confidence on what we call a micro level. That means that you've built confidence in a competency, something that exists outside of you. So you're confident in your career, you're confident with speaking, you're confident with networking, maybe you're confident on the phone selling, you're confident speaking, right? Like I am right now. But the challenge with that is that it's not sustainable, and all things that exist outside of you will change. So for example, what we saw with COVID-19 is there was a huge number of individuals, which is why our business skyrocketed, that had a lot of confidence in their career, their job, the money they made, their social clout, the card that they had. And when COVID-19 happened, what happened? All those things went away. Clients went away, businesses went away, jobs went away. And in the process, because people identified their confidence with things externally, their self-identity and their self-worth came crashing down in the process. Some of you might be able to resonate with that. We don't want to build micro level confidence first. What we want to build is macro level confidence. That is a self-confidence in yourself, in your ability. That's growth mindset, meaning that when all things external fall apart, if you have a career shift, if you lose clients, if you need to pivot, if you lose money, that you have the confidence and the belief in yourself to pivot, to grow, and to go into a different direction. You have a belief in your ability to learn. You have a belief in your ability to get back up. You have a belief in your ability to be resilient and to be forward moving. And that is really the key. So that's why I told you the story early on, because although I had micro level as a singer, micro level as an executive, well, all those things went away and all I had was $100. That means I needed to rely on my macro level confidence to say, what do I have and how do I move forward? And do I believe in my ability to learn? And that is really the key component. Confidence doesn't mean that you have all the answers. Confidence means that you're able to express and see when you don't know something and then figure it out. Everything is figured outable. If anyone's familiar with Marie Forleo, she says that all the time, right, Lori? We could figure everything out. So again, growth mindset, that's macro level confidence. You enjoy growth and development. You want constructive feedback. If things external fall apart, it's okay because you believe in your ability to grow and to pivot. So now what I want you to ask yourself is, do you have macro level confidence or do you have micro level confidence? And if all things externally fell apart, would you still be okay and would you be able to move forward? So there's two schools of thoughts when it comes to confidence. Some researchers say that confidence is something that you're born with. You're either born with it or you're not. Okay. And other people say that, no, you're not born with it. You learn it. It's a skill that you learn over time. I say it's both. So everybody is born with confidence, but instantaneously, the second you're born, it is affected by your environment, the people that you're around, your parents, where you grow up, how you grow up, the teachers that you have, and society and the culture that you're born into. Okay. And who you are today is an accumulation of all of those thoughts and beliefs. So if you think about babies, and I know we've heard this analogy before, when babies fall down, when they're learning to walk, they don't say, guess I'm not going to walk for the rest of my life. No, they keep getting back up and they try again and they try again and they try again. But as we get older, the more somebody says those things to us, the more it impacts us and the more it cripples us. And it actually does cripple us. It cripples our ability to take action, because those are the beliefs that we have in our mind when we're trying to work with our clients, when we're trying to gain more clients, get more exposure, and potentially grow our business. Okay. And that's the confidence and the mindset that's getting in the way of you taking action. So I always say, it's not the sky that's the limit, it's the mind. Okay. Our mind is the limit. So what I want us to do is I quickly want us to do this confidence assessment. Okay. So you're going to rate yourself 1 through 10. 10 being you're great, you're phenomenal. 1 being doesn't exist, everything else in between. Okay, and we're going to do this together. So 1 through 10 on self-talk. So the thoughts that you have in your mind. 1 through 10, trusting your intuition. 1 through 10, taking risk in your career, in your business. 1 through 10, self-promotion. 1 through 10, setting boundaries with your clients. Okay, saying no to your client. Over negotiating with your client, even though you charge more and they want to pay less. 1 through 10, a growth mindset. Okay, so go ahead and do this exercise. And then in the chat, what I want you to do is, after you assess all 6 pillars, pies, I want you to add them up and divide it by 6. Sorry, divide it by 60. So for example, if you have 45, let's say the total is 45, 45 divided by 60, what's your percentage? And go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll give you about a minute or 2.
Oh, okay.
Could you share setting boundaries again?
So setting boundaries is being able to have healthy boundaries around you when it comes to your clients, your peers, people in your personal life. So for example, being able to say no. So how many of us say yes when we really know we don't have the capacity, right? Or when we really know we can't take anything else on, but we don't have healthy boundaries, and so we do it anyway. How many times have we budged or maybe negotiated our rate more than we need to when it comes to a client, right? So we broke that boundary. How many times do we have clients that are maybe texting us all hours of the night, right? So we have a hard time just putting in some hard boundaries with clients, with our peers, with people that we live with. So it can be saying no, putting those boundaries for your well-being, for your business. So for example, when I get a new client, I tell them right off the bat, you can text me anytime, Monday through Friday. I'll answer within 48 hours. If you text me on the weekend, I won't answer. If you text me after 5 p.m., I won't answer. And in the very beginning, before they become a client, when they sign a contract, that's put up front. If somebody can't afford the coaching, that's completely okay. We have other coaches on our team that charge less. I give them that option. If they say, no, Nada, I want to work with you, but I can't pay that, then I say, unfortunately, at this time, these are the only options that we have because I'm at capacity. Okay, so that's a boundary, for example. Okay, so go ahead and put in the chat. So again, you're going to go 1 through 10 in each pillar, and then you're going to add them all up and divide it by 60. And then you'll put the percentage in the chat.
Divide by what did you say?
60.
60?
Yep. So if your total score is 35, for example, 30 divided by 60. So we see like 82%, 50%, 58%. Thank you for being honest, everyone. 62%, 64%.
And 10 meaning that you don't have a problem with something.
Correct.
Or-
10 means
okay.
that like you got it. Mhm. Well, that's amazing, Jim. You have 100%. You're the first person in 5 years of me working that's had 100%, even from high functioning Google executives. That is something special. All right. Okay. So talk to me a little bit. How is that exercise? So go ahead and just use your little emoji at the bottom, and then I'll call you. I'll unmute you. What did you find or discover from that exercise? Lori, can I unmute you? Go ahead, Lori.
Well, just, I mean, some people know my story, but I was just in a really like dark, unconfident place before. And so I'm just sort of acknowledging that I'm, that I'm where I am now. And even like there are some situations where I could do it better. I'm not judging myself as much as I was in the past. So it's kind of, that part is like delightful. I'm just sort of like celebrating that it's different than what it was like a year ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great win.
It's a win.
You're welcome. Anyone else? We'll do one more and then we'll do another exercise together. Karen. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'll throw myself out there. What I realized by doing this is in these areas, I have a lot of confidence in here, but on the ask, I don't do it. So all this is good in here, but I don't put it out there.
So my question to you is why then?
Right.
So so that means that there is something inside that we got to figure out because you're not making the ask. So that's what we have to get to the core to, which leads me to my next exercise. So this is perfect. We're going to do this all together. Okay.
Yep.
What is one belief or one, whatever you want to call it, a belief, a doubt, or something that's getting in the way of your success right now? Okay.
Yeah, it's a roadblock, right?
Mm-hmm. So put that down, Karen, because that's one thing, right? Is getting in, it's making the ask, but what's the belief around making the ask? Okay. Yep. Because a lot of us can see the habit, right? A lot of us can see the action. So in your case, Karen, the action is you're not making the ask. For some of you, the action is not doing the video. For some of you, the action is not charging, you're taking on too many free clients, let's say. That's an action. But what we want to understand is what's the thought that is creating that action. And that's what we have to get to the core to. That's what we have to get to the core of. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to try to get to the thought. What's the belief that's getting in the way, that's creating an action or a lack of action that's taking away from your success?
I mean, for me, it feels greedy.
Okay, why does it feel greedy? So the belief that you have is that making a sale or making an ask feels greedy?
Yep, and making money and doing well and succeeding. Yeah, it's greedy.
Okay, good. Now let's reverse that even more. So if the thought is, making money or making an ask is selfish and it's greedy, where does that thought come from?
Well, we all know, right?
I don't know, but maybe everybody knows but me.
Well, it's family stuff,
Okay. So that is a part of confidence, right? So that's a belief that's hindering you, that's basically saying that you don't have enough value to get money from people. It's selfish, right? You should be of service to everybody for free. So that's hindering your ability, that's hindering your positive thoughts. That's a belief that you have to break down. And that does come down to confidence. It comes down to feeling enough. It comes down to saying that you're worth it enough to charge and that you should charge. Because if you don't charge, or if you don't take on this client, they're going to go to somebody else that potentially has half the expertise that you have. So I want everybody to do this. Just one thing that's getting in the way right now. And Karen, that was a great example. And thank you for being authentic and letting me do this with you on the call.
Sure.
Okay, I'm seeing them here. Great. So now what I want you to do, because this is really the first step to shifting some of these behaviors, is when you write the belief, I want you to put, I remember when. And I want you to try to trace it back. Where does the belief come from? Who does it come from? How long ago was it? And if you can't remember, try to take it back by chapters in your life. So for example, I'll tell my clients, did you feel this way in your last job? And they might say, no. I say, okay, so what happened between your last job and today that new thought came to play, right? Or they might say, I did feel this way in my last job. Great, did you feel it in the job before? No. Okay, so what happened in that job then that it came about? So if it's, some people can get it instantaneously, and some people it takes them maybe a week to keep reversing it back by the chapters in your life to figure out where the thought comes from. And the most empowering thing about this is recognizing that it's not really your thought, right? It was a thought that came from somebody that you took on and you believed, and then it manifested as your own. And now it's coming out in your reactions and your behaviors, and it's affecting how you're building your business, how you're working with your clients, how you're gaining more clients, and how you're gaining more exposure. When I first started building and coaching, I didn't have all my content. I didn't have all the curriculum. I just started. And then when I got a client, I said, oh, I got a client. So let me work a little bit faster this week and get it out there and do it and work on it. And then I kept going and I kept going and I kept going. And then when I got to the point where I had too many clients, I spent a little bit of money to bring on a new team member, which I saw in the comments was time. So if you're at capacity because you can't take on any more one-to-one clients, then you need to adjust the model of your business. What's getting in the way of you adjusting the model of your business? Okay, so either you bring on another trainer and coach that can work under you, or you start doing more courses and online stuff that could bring in passive income. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that we can go about this. Okay, so again, my name is Nade. It's such an honor to be here. I'm going to open it up for any Q&A. I always love to give the workbook. So if you wanted the PowerPoint and that kind of stuff, you can go to riseupforyou.com/confidence kit. It's totally free. You do have to opt in, but you'll get the download right away. And then I'm also offering a 15-minute coaching session with me for everyone, okay? It doesn't have to be confidence. So we do leadership, business, and confidence. So if you want to jump on and say, actually, Neda, can we talk business? That's fine too. But just so you know, it's open for you. Okay. All right. So I'd love to open it up for any Q&A or just even any thoughts at all. Carrie, I don't know why. I feel like you have something to say.
So Nada, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Scott. Yes.
Oh, yeah, if I can contribute something, especially I've thought about it since what Karen said. I picked up once upon a time a list of 62 beliefs that people have that stand in the way of asking for what they want. And it's a little test you go through, and you give yourself a 1, 2, or 3 to see which of these beliefs you have, and it shows you which ones are standing in the way of you having what you want, and then it gives you a process for cleaning all of them out. And if anyone would like to get a copy of that 62 belief sheet, just send me an email at scott@scotthunter.com. I'd be happy to send it to you.
Great. And Scott, are you on LinkedIn as well?
I am.
Great. Awesome. So scott@scotthunter.com, or you can connect with him on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he'll send it to you as well. Thank you, Scott. Is it Nanor? Am I saying it right?
Yes, Nanor.
Nanor. Hi,
Yes.
Nanor.
Hi, Neda. Thank you for taking my question. I said like one of my things is to make the ask. I have this the belief is like, it's particularly reaching out to people that I know to like refer me to other people. So my belief or fear is like they're gonna feel like I'm using them. And I
Okay.
have a really big circle,
Okay.
but I've not tapped into it hardly because I don't want people to feel like, you know, they're being used in any way, because I love them dearly and I don't want to leave them with that impression.
Okay, can I ask you a question in return to that?
Yes.
Have you coached those individuals?
In the way beginning, when I first started training,
Mhm.
that was because that was one of the ways to, you know, try and get clients is like coach them so they can get a feel for what coaching is like.
Sure.
And then ask them, you know, who do you know that would benefit from something like this, you know, like
Okay.
that.
So
But
you,
so in
they've
the way
actually
beginning,
experienced you.
sorry?
They've actually experienced working with you.
Yes, and they did see value. Some of them actually even worked with me. But where I got trained, they said you can't, you know, work with family and friends. I'm like, okay, I won't, but
Okay. So if you actually worked with them and it sounds like you did it voluntarily for free,
correct.
what would be the hesitation in you asking for the referral? It wasn't that the whole point, is that you wanted them to work with you so that you can build a reputation and gain credibility and hopefully they pass you on?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was doing that back then. I'm no longer doing that. I guess what I'm hearing you say is that might be my access now to that. So just offer people like some sort of a sample session or a discovery session, and then see from there what's possible.
So so this is a little bit business, so I'll give you a business strategy tip here. My recommendation is that you don't ask for a referral unless you've worked with them. And if you haven't worked with them, then they're your client. Don't think outside of that. So if you haven't worked with them, then the question is, how do I get you onto a strategy call and add value to you, and maybe you will become a client, right?
I
So
see.
why are
Okay.
you jumping over the person that might be the perfect fit for you? Right? So like we ask for referrals all the time, but we ask for referrals with people that have actually done work with us. And then we really don't have to ask because they get good results. So they're like, absolutely. And then we also give an incentive, by the way, though. So we say, if you refer somebody and they sign up, then you get an additional coaching session for 60 minutes. Or you get
Got
two coaching sessions for 60 minutes, and they're happy to do it, right? Because we're giving them value in return. One of the best things that you can do is always provide value in return.
Mhm.
Okay, even if they're already a client. But right now it sounds like you're asking for referrals from people that you haven't even targeted yet. So target them first.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Greta. Oh, I lost you.
Yeah.
Greta.
No,
Oh, there
I'm
you
here.
go. Okay.
I'm here. Yeah, thanks. So I was listening to something you said. I found it very curious. You said when you're starting to think about an underlying belief, reverse the chapters in your life to find the source of that belief. Can you expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah, because sometimes that's a
Thanks.
good question. Sometimes beliefs are actually, most of the time, beliefs are so deep rooted, they're subconscious. We don't even know that they're showing. How many of us have said something and then your partner or your friend says, why did you just say that? And you said, what did I say? That just came out of your mouth, and you said, it did? Like sometimes we don't even know the thoughts and the behaviors that are coming out of our mouth because we're on autopilot and it's so deep rooted, it's subconscious. So some people, if I say, where did this belief come from? They would say, I have no idea. I don't know. It's just something that I think. But in order to break the belief, we have to get to the core of where it comes from. We have to understand, why do you even have the belief? Where did it come from? What was the experience? Did it come from a person? Did it come from a situation? Is it a cultural thing? So that we can reverse it and break it. And that's really the only way that we can get rid of it. It's not as simple as people say, like, oh, just think positively. Well, that's not really the reality. The reality is that we have to understand the core of where it comes from so that we can understand, validate, and justify breaking it, getting rid of it. And so when I say reverse the chapters, it's important that if you can't figure out where it is, you need to try to take it back as far as you can. So how far does the belief go back? When's the first time you can remember feeling this way, for example? So some people might say, well, the first time I felt this way was when I was a kid. Okay, so let's go all the way back to when you're a kid. What are some of the situations or challenges that happen? Now, as a coach, you're not trying to dig deep. Like that's what therapists are for. But you just want to understand the reverse process for them so that they can identify where the thought is. This is the self-awareness around emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is critical. If you're not self-aware, you can't self-manage. So if you're not self-aware, you can't self-manage. People like to do the opposite. They think that if they know what it is, then they break it. It's like ice cream, right? I know the ice cream is bad for my stomach, but I'm going to eat it anyway. I'm having a hard time managing myself. Well, why is that? There's a reason why I'm going against the grain anyway. And that's what we want to get to the core to.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anna.
I just have a nice example of what came up to me when I was trying to do that. I kind of said, okay, one of the challenges was that sometimes what happens to me is that I feel that I don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want to come up as I did something wrong, right? So then when you try to go back to where that comes from, then I ended up saying, well, I just don't, I just don't want to have it wrong. And then I'm like, okay, go back. And then I said, okay, well, I guess I've been in a system where I've always been graded. And paradoxically, I've always been successfully graded. So I was always kind of top of my class, always. But then that belief, having seen how your worth depends upon your grade, is making me, even if I was successfully, if I was well off in that system, now I say, I don't want to get it wrong, because if I get it wrong, then it means that I'm not I'm not good enough.
You associate it with the consequence, which is the
yes. And so I'm like, but how does that happen? I've always been, up there, when I've been studying, and I've always been in the top of the class, and then I say, when did I get also the fact? So it's like if they were grading me and not whatever the action or the thing was. And I feel that that's actually incredibly revealing, because I even see it like for, as coaches, as teachers, as parents, the way the system sometimes grades kids is giving them the impression of, are you doing well and are you good enough? If you do well, you're good enough. If you don't, so then the mistake is not like, this is an opportunity for me to learn, but it's kind of, so I think that it did reveal things for me. I think like there is a belief there that is completely wrong in terms of how you are actually measuring, your success or your mistakes. It's like,
yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing about that is that you're right? It's a programming. So for you, that was more of a social programming, right? You go to school, you get this grade, and that's a belief that was important to you that you held on to. One of the most important steps to building confidence, and this is really important for everybody, is self-compassion. Because remember, self-compassion puts you back on the level of humanity. You're actively saying that I'm a human being, and by nature, human beings are imperfect and we're flawed. And every time you hold yourself to the standard of perfection, you're saying, I'm not a human being. I'm this robot and I need to be perfect 24/7. So when you practice self-compassion, it puts you back on that level of humanity. And I always ask my clients, and I'll ask you, if you had a child or a friend or a spouse or a sibling or a client that came to you that fell short, are you going to reprimand them? No, you're probably going to say, that's okay, get up and try again. You keep going, right? How come you don't do that for yourself? So why in our minds do we not say and do what we tell our clients, or that we tell our kids, or that we tell our spouse or our partner, whoever it is? So self-compassion is really important, not just compassion for others, but compassion for the self. We can't give to others what we don't have. Okay, I'll take one more question, Karen, and then I'll pass it over back to Nade.
Thanks. I think you just actually got to my question, because to go to Greta's question, reverse engineering, like, so I know the moment, I know the day, I know the conversation, right? And then I think you just said self-compassion is
self-compassion, yes, and also now making the decision. A lot of times we hold on to beliefs because we don't know where, again, they're subconscious, we don't know where they're coming from. But how empowering is it to know, I know where it came from. I know where it comes from. And now you can do the work around it. Do you want to continue holding on to that belief? Do you want Bobby Joe or your last leader or whatever the situation is to have power over you? Most people say no, like they totally like mess me up in the moment and I don't want them to have any power over me. And I say, well, they do, right? So now the next time that thought comes into your mind, you can say, okay, do I want this to have power over me? So the reality is this, everybody has self-doubt and negative thoughts, including myself. Everybody does. It's BS if somebody tells you that it doesn't exist. Okay, we all have it. But we want to be able to manage it so it doesn't cripple us. So this isn't going to get rid of the belief, but now that you have the self-awareness around the belief and where it comes from, you get to make a decision on whether or not it's going to cripple you. So I always say it's okay to let fear get in the car, but don't let that sucker take the wheel. Because the second it takes the wheel, it's either going to drive you in the wall or it's going to make a U-turn and take you into a direction that you don't want to go in. Okay, so I have fear, I have self-doubt, and I keep it in the passenger seat. And I say, put your seatbelt on because I'm going where I want to go. And you're going to say, and I talk to myself all the time, and that's okay. So you nailed it, Karen. And now it's just being able to say, I know where it comes from. And do I want this to have power over my behavior, positive behaviors that are going to drive me forward? And that's a very empowering feeling for people. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to you, Nade. I know we're almost at time, so I want to honor everybody.
Thank you. And Nena, can you put in the chat the link to get the
Sure.
slides, and then also whatever instructions for people to take advantage of the 15 minutes with you if they want to.
Sure,
I want to thank Neda. Usually at the end we do gems, and we have people share the most valuable thing they got out of the session. Because we're close to the end of time and I want Greta to be able to wrap up, I'd love to have you guys share your gems in the chat. So just share in the chat a little something to Neda to thank her and let her know what the most valuable thing you got out of tonight. And while you're doing that, I'm going to turn it over to Greta so she can wrap it up for us.
Thanks, Nade, and thanks, Neda, and everybody for being here. It was really great to see everyone and some new faces. Just as a reminder, don't forget to complete your survey that we'll be sending out to you, and then we'll send you the CCEUs in about 7 to 10 days. And we've got some fabulous upcoming events. Next week, April 20th, we're having our very own Nade and Rafi Sarafian to talk about software for your coaching business. On April 22nd, we have a community meeting that our very own Camber is going to be leading. It's called a Wine, Cheese, and Chat community meeting. And look out for the big event on May 4th for Marshall Goldsmith, Leading in a Time of Crisis. It's part of our celebration of International Coaching Week. And he's also going to speak on May 20th about what got you here won't get you there. And in between those two May chapters, we're having a book club meeting to read and discuss Marshall's book about leading in a time of crisis. So please check out our events page. Thank you, Natalena, again, for all your wonderful insights and inspiring talks. And thanks, everybody, and hope you have a great rest of the evening. Thanks for calling in from wherever you are, and we look forward to seeing each and every one of you at another upcoming event. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
Nada.
Thank
This
you
was
so much.
amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wonderful. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.